fellow humans. Durgan here with Real Casual Geeks. Welcome to my first episode of No Man's Sky coverage. I'm kind of late to the game. The game comes out in just over a month. I've wanted to get into this for about 2 months now. Just haven't gotten to it. Mainly because I'm not the most organized individual on the planet. So, initially this was going to be a video about my thoughts on multiplayer. I have some very specific thoughts. I get annoyed with people who desperately want multiplayer and figure the game is going to suck horrendously as a result of not having it. However, while I was collecting footage for putting this together, I grabbed the first ever release video of the announcement of No Man's Sky. And this was way back on December 9th of 2013. Now, this is the announcement video, and you gotta remember, they were probably working on this for at least a year before this video was put out. Just imagine what sort of things have been implemented since then. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video, and I'm going to stop it at various points and give perspective on what I'm seeing and the sort of things I've heard from people, read from people, seen from people in relation to these various things, and how this answers a lot of questions people have, and this is from way back in December of 2013. So, here we go. Okay, this first bit about the procedurals, alright? Notice, Ruin, Galaxy. Okay. People keep asking about cities, ruins, all sorts of things. What kind of stuff will we find? Well, obviously, we are going to find ruins. And because they are procedural, they could be virtually any size. Alright? Look at the universe. It's huge. It's procedural. Look at the ships. There's a huge selection. It's procedural. No guarantees, of course. They could set limits of any kind they want. However, they do mention ruins in the very first trailer. So that's pretty exciting. What sort of ruins are we going to see? How big will they be? Will they still be partially populated? We don't know. That's one of the many things we are going to discover. Next is every galaxy is procedural. People have often debated whether or not you're in a galaxy or in a universe. This right here pretty much explains it. You're in a universe, and there are more than one galaxy. Why would they need to say that every galaxy is procedural if there's only one, right? Now, you could argue this part about every atom being procedural. Well, I'll point something out on that in a moment. Sure, we cannot see down to the atomic level of things in the game. However, let's get this going again. Now look here. You are in a liquid, and it shows 99.2% hydrogen dioxide, 0.7% sodium chloride, 0.1% trace substances. All right? And that can be, trace substances could just be a filler to just make it look a little more interesting. Or some of those trace substances could be non-trace substances on other planets. That remains to be seen. However, you get these readings for not just liquid, but atmosphere as well. So these will give you tips on how to modify your suit for better protection, as well as is it possible to collect some of these elements for various other things. At the moment I can't think of anything that you might want to use sodium chloride for, or hydrogen dioxide, but still, will these be things you can collect? Now watch coming up. Alright, can't quite see it here because of all the motion. However, notice this tree over here. A lot of people keep asking about how none of the grass or plants seem to move. Well, this is the very first trailer ever. Watch the tree closely. It's moving. It's subtle, but it was moving. Alright. Now here's where the every atom procedural comes into play. Notice the clouds as we fly through them. It's not just a texture. This is actually procedurally generated fog. Alright? Granted, it's a minor detail, but I genuinely believe that's where the every atom procedural comment comes from. What other areas of the game will require this sort of thing? Don't know. We have seen in the Acid Planet where there were little puffs of clouds of toxic gas, so there could be that as well. The way that these clouds are generated is with voxels. A lot of the game is generated with voxels, which are volumetric pixels. And as a result, you could consider every voxel as an atom in the case of the game. So, not 100% real world accurate, but certainly game world appropriate. Now proceeding on, we get to this part, okay? Now in a recent trailer where Anthony Carboni was playing the game, he shot a creature and buried it in a hole, and all the Sentinels came by to investigate. People thought that was pretty impressive, how they had managed to implement that at some point. However, trailer number 1, look at all the Sentinels coming to check out this crashed ship. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? They're all 7. They're all looking at it going, what the heck? What's with this crashed ship? What do we do with this thing? Right? Now, obviously, still an early build. As you can see by this chunk of ground, that if I remember correctly, no, it doesn't show it in this video. In another video, this looks still pretty chunky, and then resolves into higher detail. So this was kind of probably just a glitch on the rendering part of the game at the time. But yeah, so loads of Sentinels come by to investigate this crashed ship. Is this one that you took down, or that a player took down? Is it one that you can salvage parts from? We don't know. But that is an interesting question, and the better question is, or a bigger question is, can we eventually hijack these? That would be awesome for those of us, or those who would really like to hijack things, right? Now here is an idea, well, sort of evidence of the size of creatures that we can expect. I mean, look at the size of this thing. We don't know where this guy starts because he's already in progress. But then we get the second one here, right? There's his head. He looks like just an average worm with scales, but super huge. And he just kind of goes on, and we don't get to know how big he is because the video cuts out. But we can probably safely say he's pretty big. An interesting question many people have is, could we ride it? Could we harness it and ride it around? Just judging from the way that it comes out of the ground, I don't think you'd want to ride it because it would probably hurt a whole lot if it decides to go back into the ground while you're riding it. But maybe that's just something they could do where if you're riding it, it won't go into the ground. So that could be interesting to find out in the future. Is there anything else in this clip? No, just the standard, what does this mean? What are all these flags? Is this a piece of some ruins? What can we find in this area? That sort of thing. What's next? Space battles. So yeah, just a few things I noticed in rewatching this that I think really answer some questions that people have. Frame by frame, there's loads of things we can see, like this building over here looks pretty different from everything else we've seen. What exactly are these? I kind of don't think they're buildings. To me, I mean, here you got two that don't seem to be connected to each other, while these two do look connected to each other. What does it mean? Is it maybe a variant of the rings we've seen on some planets, whose purpose, again, we don't really know about? This here, is this a broken statue of some sort? Or what is that? Also, is this ship actually in the atmosphere? Or is it just so huge it looks like it? Sentinel, blah, blah, blah. Walking along, walking along. Here's that shot where two similar ships have landed. They don't look like they've crashed. They look like they've landed. And it kind of makes you wonder, what are they? Are they two player ships who've landed together? Are they just faction ships that have landed together? There's a clip where Sean refers to buying ships, and he says that when the pilots of these ships leave their ship, you can talk to them about purchasing their ship. If I can find that clip at some point, I'll add it to the notes here. But yeah, I found that pretty interesting. The fact that these two ships are virtually identical, numerous reasons for that. Could have been put there just in anticipation of building a demo or a trailer, and this is all that they used of it. Either way, These ships are pretty cool. I mean, you got your engines in the back there, stabilizer. Is this sort of the X-Wing nose, or is this actually a brake? The perspective on this is tough to kind of make out decently. But these guns seem to come out of sort of a V-shaped ship, with this gap here being just a gap in the center. However, without better perspective, can't know for certain. Then here's an older ship. This is actually really interesting because this one is showing a lot of wear on it. A lot of like worn off corners. I was going to say blast points, but no, it doesn't look like any blast points. I'm not even sure if we'll be able to see those. Its ID number is fading out. So this is a pretty old ship. Interesting. What is this red thing up here? I don't know. Then there's this ship here, which, as I go frame by frame, seems to have sort of an exhaust issue going on. So is this a ship that has landed and is in need of repair? Or what exactly is happening there? Your D10 ship. So another building over here. Through the clouds. Space stations. A lot of people have pointed out that this one and several others kind of look like the Tet from Oblivion, the Tom Cruise movie. And yeah, it does. So what? It's a cool looking space station. But you can really kind of start getting a sense of the size of things here. Recent images came out showing engine exhaust, or I'm not even sure what that's called offhand at the moment. And it's a lot more star-shaped. A lot of people really like that. I don't know if it really matters a whole lot, but it's not that different from how it was back then. So that's kind of cool. Not a whole lot of information to be gathered from the cockpit. You can see the speed you're going, which I think that's the speed. Because even though he's firing, the number is going up. Wonder. Oh, and I just noticed that the two ships both fly through. On initial watching, I thought that ship in front of me flew on the outside of the hole blasted. Yeah, not a lot else there. Not a lot there. If you notice, these are the ships that are crashed, I believe. I believe this is one of the ships that have crashed on the planet back there. And yeah, I just noticed the speed here goes from 5,000 something. No, 66 to 5,000. Is that a 5,000 or 500? 554, 53 is what it looks like to me. Yeah, can't quite tell, but anything I miss? Anything I miss? So fish. Obviously the plants are moving based on the current of the water. Here you can see the ship. This ship is crashed and fallen apart, which is quite nice. But yeah, that's all from the very first trailer. So take some of that as you will. But I think a few things were answered there. And yeah, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Sorry it was kind of long. I'm trying to figure this stuff out better. But yeah, cheers.